So, you guys, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver, is getting amazing reviews right now. From what I heard, it is getting amazing reviews right now on many platforms. And I just want to look at some of these amazing reviews by critics. So let's go to our good old friendly place, Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes.
Which is garbage, by the way. But
yes.
For once,
But,
it's actually getting it like pretty right, because you can see even the audience and there's a consensus amongst the audience and critics. Yeah.
But since
And
everyone,
usually when you see that, then you know like it's true.
Right.
You know.
And since everyone, likes to use Rotten Tomatoes a lot for their agendas, whether it be to trash a movie or support whatever movie they like, we're going to go ahead and obviously cover it real quick. So,
this guy is so trash at making movies these days that even his cult, his hardcore cult, they can't co-sign this shit. They can't defend it, bro. They're just staying. They're either staying quiet or they're like having to admit, bro, this is bad, bro.
Because he tried to do a like he just made it. He Netflix are fools for. Yeah, I understand Netflix wanted to create their own big sci-fi property. Having a big sci-fi property can do some good for you. Dune is currently getting up there as one. People are receiving Dune very well. Star Wars, obviously, while it's been messing up a little bit, it's a strong sci-fi property. Alien, semi one, I guess, but having a sci-fi is a strong genre people like. So it makes sense why Netflix want to make it their own. But let's look at these amazing reviews from some of the critics. Brian Eggert of Deep Focus Reviews says, the bottomless generic quality of everything happening in The Scargiver is a persistent reminder that Snyder's challenges include rendering macho, epic-sized visuals, whereas pesky details such as story and dimensional characters have never been priorities. I agree. I haven't seen the movie. I seen the first movie, and these characters, wouldn't.
They were trash. But let me just get into it before you read another review. Let me get into two things.
Thank you for a $2 donation.
Just before I forget, I don't even want to review this movie. It's not. Look, it's pretty bad. Like nothing happens. Nothing happens. But the big thing is, it shows that he has no idea about storytelling, and you get the notion of like when he was talking about the DC universe and where he wanted it to go with Batman like impregnating Lois Lane and all of this bullshit that he wanted to do, right? In Justice League Part 2.
Yeah.
It shows that like the storytelling he's been doing ever since he was doing what was that zombie movie called?
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. Yeah, the storytelling that he's been capable of or not capable of, it just shows this guy has no idea. But let's go back to something. I'm not gonna lie. Look, I like.
Nerman, you want to know what he needs to do? He needs to hire James Gunn to come write his movies again, because James Gunn wrote literally his best. James Gunn wrote Dawn of the Dead.
It's not his best movie. That's his third.
It's not his best, but it is. It's not his best, but it is one of his best ones.
No, you're right. He needs writers, and he needs not only writers. I'm starting to think this guy's visuals, because the visuals in Rebel Moon 1 and 2 and in that last movie were not that good. I'm starting to think his cinematographer was the guy who should get the credit for the visuals that Zack Snyder used to pull off. The cinematographer, and because he's been doing his own cinematography recently. For the last few films. Yeah, so his cinematographer clearly was the genius out of the two of them because he had the same cinematographer. I think since Dawn of the Dead, it was only when it came to this last three movies that he's been doing his own cinematography. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and his action as well is completely changed. He has no the action choreography is nothing like what you saw in like Batman v Superman, the warehouse fight and stuff like that. He can't. I don't. It's
Yeah,
everything that
it was no action scenes in Rebel Moon 1 comparable to anything in BVS,
anything
even Man of Steel.
or
Like,
Justice League
because
or Man
this
of
is what I was
Steel.
honestly, this is what I was
But can I
expecting.
before you
Real
go,
quick,
just
what I
no
was
go.
expecting was, you know, Star Wars but better with like action, like
Yeah,
lightsaber fights but better, because that's what he was hyping it up as. Like, oh, this is my Star
right,
Wars. Blah.
right. But everything. So I'm not gonna lie. I've always said I like BVS, even though I see that it has huge problems. I obviously like Watchmen, and I like Justice League, like is Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I know now, like basically, this guy can't make a good movie or even a decent like the have the standout qualities that made Snyder, controversial and divisive because actually he was good with action and good with visuals, but not so good with storytelling.
Yeah,
He can't do that without like a 300 million budget. Clearly, he needs like 200, like Man of Steel, 250 million budget apparently. Uh,
and
Justice League,
I
two,
think when it comes to it's
but
just to bounce off real quick. When it comes to visuals, I think he's one of the few directors that that prioritize cinematography that does deserve a budget like that. Like, for example, a director like Matt Reeves and stuff, he doesn't need a 300, $250 million budget to direct a solid movie because he's not so needy. He's not so needy of like,
his
dang, I need
visuals
to
are
have.
amazing.
Yeah, they are. I'm not saying they aren't, but like he's not so needy. Same thing with Christopher Nolan. They're not so needy. Like they're the ones that
Yeah,
probably a little bit more practical, more so than I
yeah.
need more visual effects and green screen.
Oh, I mean, the directors within the DC EU have all had great visual styles. It's not
Yeah, I
just
agree.
Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder stood out because they were rendered a little bit like the graphic novels of they were reminiscent of the graphic novels of DC. So he was visually the best, but like the other ones, like when you look at Matt Reeves, the Batman, I'll say it again. I don't think Shazam 1 had great visuals, but Shazam 2 has fantastic, like really pulpy comic book visuals as well. Wonder
Yeah,
Woman had great visuals. They were almost kind of akin to Zack Snyder's, that Wonder Woman one.
that
So
dragon was
there have
amazing.
been some really good visual, and I'll go online. I'll even say this on the line. Like even put myself on the line saying this. I'll say even both Suicide Squads had some
Yeah,
really good visuals as well.
even the first one. Look,
So
I may not like the first one, but I cannot take away the visuals of that movie. The visuals very poppy, had its own unique
yeah,
style to it. Didn't like the movie,
yeah,
but the visuals are heavily strong.
right, exactly. But those directors could do that, I think, with even lower budgets. Zack
Yes.
Snyder clearly needs either it's his cinematographer and his action, whoever he was hiring to do the action choreography, and he just leaned on those guys. Maybe
I think
he
it's
treated
I
them
think it's
well and whatever,
I
and
think
that's why they have a good relationship. But he clearly was not responsible for that shit. I can see that now in these last two movies. Maybe the only thing he was responsible for visually in all these movies was the slow motion. And
yeah.
let me take it a step further. He's not even responsible for the writing, for the storytelling. of some of his better movies. I can see now that he probably had more of storytelling um, uh, responsibility in Man of Steel, but BVS and where I can totally see a different type of there's elements of it where the writing is actually, of the dialogue and stuff like that, is actually quite sophisticated. And you might say, oh, it was trash and blah blah blah. But when you compare it to Rebel Moon,
I mean, yeah, Zack Snyder
it's
Justice
like
is
fucking Shakespeare.
Zack
In
Snyder Justice is
comparison.
way better than Rebel Moon. It is. It's better than Army of the Dead, and it's better than Rebel Moon 2. Even though I haven't seen Rebel
Right.
Moon 2 yet, I assume Zack Snyder Justice is still better than Rebel Moon 2. I assume.
So I remember my utter shock watching Zack Snyder's Justice League and thinking, what is going on? Like, this is not the Zack Snyder I know. This is something else. There were elements of the Zack Snyder I knew where I was like, oh, I don't really love that bit. The bit at the end where they're doing the nightmare scenes and stuff like that. I was like, that strikes me as quite Zack Snydery. But the the earlier parts of the movie, well, sorry, and stuff like Wonder Woman killing those people in the bank, that kind of reminded me of Zack Snyder. It's just like little things that were excessive that the movie would have been better without. But nonetheless, for the most part, the writing had a level of sophistication to it, and now I know that movie, even before it was shot, like I know that the studio and specifically Jeff Johns is responsible for a lot of that movie. I know it in my fucking heart. I wish I could have the resources to go and research it and expose Zack Snyder for the fraud he is. I know Jeff
And while there's
Johns
bashing Jeff
helped him
Johns,
write that fucking movie
I told you,
because
Jeff
there's
Johns,
too many things in it. Yeah,
Nerdman, Jeff Johns over there putting in business and make sure, man, I don't need you fucking shit up. My job is on the line and your job is on the line. Jeff Johns was his savior. And Zach was like, he's babying me. Like, he was fucking saving you, man. He's trying to make sure you don't lose your job. It makes you can make your damn
yeah,
movies and shit.
exactly.
Jeff
Like
didn't want to babysit his ass.
he made a mistake by not believing in the final product of the movie that Zack Snyder made.
Yeah.
But again, it was 4 hours, like for it to make sense. If they cut that down to like 2.5 hours, it probably would have been trash, but in terms of the 4 hour version, yeah, you could see like that there was studio interference. That is not Zack Snyder's vision. I know it. He would have done more fucked up shit. It would have been more like the last, that last 15 minutes or whatever. That would have been the whole movie, like the nightmare scene. I'm not saying that it would have been in the nightmare world. I'm saying the quality of the writing, the quality of the visuals, the quality of everything would have been like that if it was really a Zack Snyder movie. It was not. It doesn't feel like a Zack Snyder
RJ, if you
movie,
want to
apart from the visuals element.
RJ, if you want to, RJ, add me on Instagram so I can get you a link if you want to come up. We're going to be doing multiple topics, but go ahead, Nerdman. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's really what I have to say. I don't even have a review for Rebel Moon. I just switched it off. There's nothing in it. Like after an hour and a bit, I couldn't even finish the movie because it was just that inanely boring.
I mean, you finished the first one though, right?
Yeah, I finished the first one eventually, and I thought that the end, by the time it got to the end action scene, I didn't think it was good, but I thought it was a lot better than the rest of the movie. But this one it just had, I'm not going to sit there through characters that aren't characters. They have no depth. They have no character. There's no reason for you to be interested in anything you're seeing.
Hold on,
I
let
mean,
me
it
Hold
goes
on,
so
Dermot.
far that even June, like June 1 and 2, which I think is highly over fucking rated, has more substance and depth and characters that you can get involved
Today
in.
we begin the prep. Today.
I just want to show people something amazing real quick, nerd man. Our boy, our guy, the man of the hour, a wonderful man. I know you guys remember this individual. He was one of the strongest warriors. A warrior. This man right here. This wonderful black man with beautiful dreads. Ray Fisher, man. Look at his moment right here. His epic moment. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Ooh, yeah. Come on, Ray.
Like hand-to-hand combat, like
The
and
jogging.
then this trash. Look at
The
his
jogging.
a horrible movie.
Like, look,
I don't know
like
if he
Dermot.
can come
Look at
back
this right
from
here.
this.
Look at this right here. Dermot, look at this right here. She ducks out of cover. Snyder has her shoot the gun and then slow-mo. For what? For what? Like, what is the purpose of the slow-mo here in this scene? To focus on her eyeball? To focus on her short hair with snow on it? What the fuck was the purpose of the slow-mo here? You guys know I'm nitpicking a bit, but if you're going to use slow-mo, it needs to really focus on the scene and make it really more impactful and cool and shit. What was the purpose of the slow-mo here? What? I don't see no damn purpose.
Basically, Netflix needs to put a kibosh to this. They need to stop this right now. And quite honestly, even though I do think the Snyder universe not should have been continued, but I think like in the end that was the best of a horrible situation that Warner Brothers had created for themselves. I think that was going to be the most financially lucrative solution to their problems, was to continue the Snyderverse. But I really, even now, I'm thinking like they should have got a new director to continue the Snyderverse, basically, like to do Justice League 2 and 3. Even if it was like, the guy who did the Raid or something like that, just get somebody else to do part 2 and 3, because this guy clearly has no idea what he's doing. Clearly, it's ridiculous. I love to see if he can come back from this somehow, but I don't see how he comes back from this. 3 trash movies, just back to back, absolute garbage.
I don't see it either. Honestly, nerd man, I'd rather this AI picture of Jennifer Lopez is better than Rebel Moon, and this ain't even real.
You've noticed Onzo's
this AI photo of Jennifer Lopez is more interesting, more detailed. This is more detailed than the CGI in Rebel Moon. Look at this AI. Come on,
guys.
Is
that AI? Really?
Yeah, this is real. I thought it was real. But I was like, yeah, I don't remember J-Lo's hips being that big.
No. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about it. It's just hold this out. I really want to see what you can read the reviews and stuff like that, but I really want to see
we'll just read like
all the Snyder cult are saying on Twitter and everything like that. How can they possibly justify this nonsense now? This guy coming out with it, and then having the gall, the unmitigated gall, to come out and say, "Oh, there's another cut as well. There's a longer R-rated cut of this movie." Like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Nobody don't want to watch the R-rated cut. And besides, all that cut is gonna have just more sex and gore. Like, that doesn't make your movie any better. Certain movies need an R, like for example, the Venom movie would have probably been better if it was treated as an R-rated movie. But
and thank you. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
Said WB is justified for firing Snyder, but not justified about the timing. I agree. It was a weird time to fire him. That was
I
not the
don't
best
care.
time to fire him or let
They
him
should
go.
have fired
But
his ass, bro. That was a good
no, they
choice.
should have. I don't disagree, but the timing when they did it was a little suspect.
They should have gone with his movie. That's all I can say. He still should have been fired, but they should have gone with his version of the movie. It was too late. I'll say this. Oh man, what was I going to say? Like, doesn't matter. Don't worry. I'll remember it.
All right, let me go ahead and read 4 more reviews, and we're going to end this topic and move on to the next one. Dan Scully. He's a flawed but highly imaginative and exciting film. That's Dan Scully's review. Wendy Idy. While Sophia Boutella playing outlaw warrior Kara brings a balletic elegance to her fight sequences, ultimately this
Balletic, like ballet.
is a fucking lie. I did not see no influence of ballet in her fight style. Harley Quinn has the influence of ballet in her fight style, but fucking Cora, she was doing some generic ass shit. But ultimately, this is disappointingly generic stuff. I agree. We'll read 2 more reviews, guys, and we're going to move on to the next topic. What's good, Kavari? Somehow, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, is even worse than the first one. It's even more structurally suspect, even more perfunctory in how it deals with its characters. It also looked considerably worse, and the first movie was no grand vision. I agree.
Yeah. Sup, Kavari, man.
Last review. It has a bit more to offer than the first in terms of action style, but the writing remains its weakness. It lacks the urgency and depth required to deliver on any sort of payoff. Yeah. And I think Snyder said he wants to do 6 more movies.
Mm-hmm. Hunter Iggy says, yo, what's up? What is your thoughts on people trying to dig up James Gunn old posts from Twitter and even 20 years ago?
Heathens. Heathens is what I say. Heathens trying to slander a good man. A hero.
Yeah, and Anzo should have better things to do with his time, bro. He left the MCU. Just take it, bro.
What did you do?